The whole world is working towards comfort. To simply blindly go towards that is to become extremely dependent and over time become incapable.
I've never had to take on something physical knowing that I'm going to be limited on sleep.
This is the element that I thrive in. However, I thrive in it so well that I take a lot of things for granted.
I like to be in control of everything in my life.
Decide to not seek some comfort in this one space because you're capable of enduring whatever it is you're facing. It was like a handful of years ago. I think I was just exploring myself a lot and trying to figure out who I was, what made me tick, where my limits were, and came up with an idea with a couple buddies to say, well, why don't we design an event that's going to help you explore those things? You always do these physical events for other people to explore. What would a physical event look like that you would create for you if you looked at yourself? And then we landed on, what if you decided to take an axe and go pick out a tree and see how long it would take you to chop that tree down with just the axe. And ever since we put that video out, a handful of people kept asking me, hey Tosh, can I do something like that? Would you do something like that with me? Could you design an experience for me? And then we launched the Hard Way Project, which does exactly that. And that's when Ryan reached out. Tosh, what do you think? Can you design something for me?
After Travis died, I had like massive panic attacks. I was diagnosed with PTSD. I didn't leave my house for probably 2 months. I wouldn't drive further than 10 miles from my home. Like, I was debilitated by anxiety. Travis's story is that he deployed twice to Iraq. His first deployment, less than a year after graduating from college. Second deployment, he left the day after Christmas, and the last time I talked to him was two and a half weeks before he died. When I speak, I'll talk a lot about like watching the way my brother always pushed himself. And even when he was young, and I was like perfectly fine with like being his cheerleader, and also kind of in awe of how he like set really kind of insane goals for himself. And then I watched not him achieve those goals, but I watched what he did leading up to be able to achieve those goals. And so I was like apathetic to living that lifestyle. I was like very fine with the status quo, and I feel a responsibility almost. Like after Travis died, like that I had to kind of carry on with the things that he did. Leading into this challenge, I said I didn't want to do two things. I didn't want to be at high altitude, and I didn't want to be in the cold. Essentially, it became a 72-hour challenge at, higher altitude in the cold.
So we're gonna go this way, do some backcountry, do a little route navigation and everything, go back up to that point that we did with TMF. We'll hike the trails to Green Mountain, try to hit Green Mountain for sunset. What I wanna do is start out from here, doing some land nav through the backcountry and figuring out, solving different routes and ways to get there with a couple key points as options for us to go and respond to how we're feeling. I wanted to create an event that was long enough that you couldn't just fake it and have your defenses up in the beginning and then be able to get there and oh, and I'm done. We really wanted to make the event long enough so that it starts to break down and we get a much more natural exchange. We get to meet who we really are and not the curated version.
270.
I got 272.
But again, that's
a cool confidence booster though, right?
That's just based on instinct.
Yeah.
Because I felt like we were walking that way a lot.
I'm happy with that.
When you look back to 2020, when I was able to come here and spend a week here, Like, I don't have opportunities like that anymore because of the way we've grown and the things that I do now to help support the growth of the organization. And I have a lot of really cool opportunities, but none of them challenge me, right? They're just like real cool opportunities. So I can say, oh, I've done a lot of things, but nothing where I'm challenged as a person, where I have to like look within myself, where I have to like dig deep.
Look at this, Ryan. I need to use the physical in order to get you in a distracted, weakened, compromised, fatigued, whatever the right words are, state that you're having to spend extra resources that you can't keep your guard up. And we don't have to break the walls down. We're not asking to break the walls down. We're just looking to lower them a little bit or soften them so that I can climb over or you can choose to open up the door.
When I say I feel like I have something to prove, I don't feel like I have to prove that I'm resilient. Like I don't feel like I have to prove that.
What do you feel like you have to prove?
I think a little bit of it is like separating TMF, right? And then me.
Yeah.
So like we've created this space where veterans can deal with their shit, can find community, can, overcome the challenges they're facing in their life. We've created this community for families that they can work through their loss by giving back, by serving others, right? But as we get bigger, I feel like I lose the ability to be able to do that. Last time I cried in front of anyone who wasn't my kids or my dad was in your fucking kitchen, right? So like here we are again. And like as we were coming down, like I just got very emotional, and I think about like, I'm really good about going to, showing up in a place of strength, in front of our community. Like I do that really well.
Oh.
And I think that, I don't know if it serves my mental health the best by always doing that.
Yeah, a couple things like who's telling you that crying in front of your community is not strength?
Absolutely no one.
Okay.
I tell myself that. But I also think as the more that the bigger we grow as an organization, the more I feel even more uncomfortable
It's
with
organizational pressure,
Yeah.
just because of your personal sense of obligation
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
who you are. Yeah. So maybe we don't change that. We understand that of ourselves. Okay, cool. Then why don't we put ourselves in front of other audiences so that we can get that, because it feels like your soul is wanting that.
I also feel like doing something like this was like I knew it was going to be a release for me, So. And a lot of it, honestly, is because, like, I just really fucking miss my brother, and, like, I would totally do this with him,
Yeah. Yeah. It feels good to say. It feels good to hear. I don't know if it feels good to say or not, but It's super common for people to come here thinking they want one thing and thinking that that's what they wanted and needed. And then you give them a little bit of that, but then you give them something else and they get it that direction. So a lot of people come, hey, I just want a physical beat down. Hey, I want to be tested physically. I want to see where my limits are. And I'm like, that's what you understand, but I understand what's holding your physical limitations back is what's going on in here and in here.
I don't place any blame on like the way I was raised, but like I was raised by a Marine Corps colonel. He was not like, let's like sit around and kumbaya at the kitchen table and talk about our feelings. Like I didn't do that, you know? And so, in a lot of ways, like, you know, now as an adult, I find myself like, shit, there's like a lot that I just am super uncomfortable doing. And so in terms of like talking about and expressing my emotions, and it doesn't serve me well. I mean, it's definitely like a handicap that I have in a lot of ways. So, you know, maybe in the second chapter of my life, that's something that I'm focused on.
As the Marine Corps officer, right, as the company commander, you weren't supposed to show certain things.
Yeah.
Because it gives the men permission, and they don't deserve to have a commander that's showing these things. Like, so it was an appropriate place and time to be the person that masked the pain, masked the emotions. But, hey, your feet hurting or your legs sore, are you sore? You're like, do you have negative thoughts? Before it would be, no. In the military, in the environments that I was in, that might be the right answer. But it's not serving me and serving the people that I love and that I want to serve well by trying to mask all of this stuff.
I went into this like experience like with a lot on my plate, and then when I got done, I felt like I was like, again, like I needed that, right? I was like ready to go back and kind of tackle everything, and I'm like, all right, you know, and then just had some like unexpected life changes that I don't think I would have been able to handle in the way that I did had I not been on that trip. What's happening right now is more of what I need.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like I don't need to hit 7 peaks. You know? I don't give a shit. Like,
No, I'm with you.
yeah.
I'm with you.
I looked at this as an opportunity to like give me time to turn all of that off. It was just kind of to get back to finding a place for me to just sit with me.
It's one of the things I thought about a lot today, because you made the comment last night that you wouldn't be out here with just anybody. You wouldn't be out here, you wouldn't like this and that, but coming out here with me, like I take that on as like a tremendous responsibility, an incredible privilege. I've looked up to you for a long time for a lot of reasons. And you said it's because I remind you of your brother. And I just thought about that a lot today. So thanks, yeah, it means a lot. Like, 'cause I know that that's not something that's said lightly, and that's not something that you give to just fucking anybody, you know. And I thought about that, and it made me really, really happy to be able to be that type of person for you.
My life is the Travis Manion Foundation, and I love that, and I want it to be that, but sometimes it's hard for me to just be able to show up as like Travis's sister, you know, and just miss my brother, and connect and feel connected to him in a way that's not about some huge organization in his name. And so, like, doing this, I felt like I was able to do that, you know, and I said to Tosh a couple times, like, this is the kind of stuff that Travis would do. And, you know, so it like brought me back to like just being about me and Travis. Like I have so many pictures of Travis from Iraq, and he's like sleeping on top of a Humvee.
Yeah.
Or he's like sleeping on a concrete floor, you know.
And fall asleep anywhere.
Yeah. And you hear that a lot in the military, like you fall asleep anywhere.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know how people do that. But like, we walked up from that waterfall and you're like, we're gonna take a break here. I just lied down and fell asleep, you know? And I'm like, all right, I get the, you know, but it's like getting your body to that point where it doesn't matter, right? Mm-hmm. Like you're going, and so I wanted to feel that. Mm-hmm. I think everybody needs the chance just to step outside of their comfort zone, whether that's like physically or emotionally. And through this, I got to do both, right? But we don't grow as people unless we challenge ourselves to continually do that.
The fact that there's resistance to do something and a little spooky, that's the clue right there that you should lean into that. It's probably the clue that you should do something like this with somebody through some sort of activity or something that puts you in these places, because you will be surprised with who you meet. And if it's done well, you're gonna be really excited. Maybe not in the moment, but you will be really excited that you met that person.
What I thought I was gonna get was a feeling of like accomplishment because I did this hard physical challenge, when in fact, I don't even feel like that. The physical part of it doesn't, you know, great, but that wasn't it. What I got from it was just kind of this chance to like be with me, you know, just sit with me, just be reflective about where I am in my life and the things that I need to work on. And I think that there's so much more value in that than any, you know, like chest pumping, like physical achievement. And, you know, that was the most important thing for me.